We discuss the future of 3D attractions at Universal Orlando with 4 members of the Producers Club on episode 370 of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hey everyone, it is me, Lee. I am here with a new episode of the show. We are literally, I think, about a week and a half away from the beginning of the weekend, and I am quite honestly crapping myself at this point. But that's a different matter, a different story even, for a different time. So as I said, I am joined by 4 members of the Producers Club. There is no Darren, there is no Chris, there is no Tracy. It's lovely, I am free. No one listens to it, so they can't say anything. So I will introduce the people we have. Coming to us from Ocala in Florida, we have Brittney Asbell. Hey, Brittney.
Hello.
Coming to us from Wentzville in Missouri, finally. No one will know what that means, but we will say Chris Thompson. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
Oh, it's lovely. Coming to us from... Actually, I have not put where you are from, Christina, in the show notes, so why don't you tell us where you are from, Christina Freundel?
I am from right outside of Baltimore, Maryland.
There we go. So I've managed to cock up there as well. And finally, we have David Fuller coming from Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Hey, David.
Hey, Lee. Great pronunciation, by the way.
I've done a lot of research into it. Right, before we get started on this episode, I have a couple of things I need to say. It turns out that once again, the curse of me getting people's birthdays wrong on the show has struck again. And I said on the last show that it was Sonia Miranda's birthday on the 9th of October, and it wasn't. It's on the 9th of November. And I've even gone back and checked the email she sent me, and it said the 9th of November, so who knows why I put October. So happy birthday, Sonia, for November, not October.
Yes, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
And seeing as though we have 4 members of the Producers Club with us, and I did leave his birthday out on the last show as well, it is Darren's birthday today as of recording, which is Sunday, the 22nd of October. So happy birthday, buddy, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm sure he's getting a lot of love.
Oh, he's at Horror Nights tonight, so yes, he was enjoying himself. He's got a whole weekend of, he's been at Howler Scream and he's at Horror Nights, and yeah, I'm sure there's lots of alcohol being imbibed as well. So yeah, as I said in the intro, the topic for this came to me a few months ago, actually. So I wanted to discuss the present and the future of 3D attractions at Universal Orlando, and I said there, what prompted me for this topic was when recently Universal took the step to remove the 3D element from Despicable Me, Minnie and Mayhem, which was such a strange decision for them to do. Because it, for me, not that I ride it much anyway, it took out any reason whatsoever to ride that attraction.
Yeah, I actually rode it the other day for the first time with no 3D in it, and it's very different. It kind of takes the immersion out of it.
It just
so
doesn't...
have they just removed all 3D elements of the voices in the pre-show and the actual 3D, but it's the exact same ride, or did they actually change anything?
It's the exact same ride. I think that the beginning, I haven't ridden it a ton, but I think the beginning when you're in that first room, that has changed a little bit. But the room where you're standing there and they do the banana smell, that's the same. And the whole ride is exactly the same. But since you don't have those 3D glasses, you can see the edge of the screen. So it takes a lot of that immersion of you're becoming a minion out of it. And the seats still move and everything. There's just no 3D. It's kind of just like watching a movie in an earthquake.
It's just so bizarre. I know a lot of people were tweeting Universal and they said it was due to guest feedback or something. I don't know. I don't know anybody that's riding that attraction and going, you take the 3D out. I think it's a kickback for people complaining about the amount of screen attractions, and it's like, well, let's just take away 3D, which doesn't make any sense. But anyway, we will get into that a little bit later. What I wanted to do with the 4 people we have here, just to start off with, is find out what your thoughts on, Chris, this is where you come into your own, on 3D attractions at Universal as a whole, taking out any sort of jadedness that you have of screen-based and 3D attractions. What are your thoughts on 3D attractions as a whole? And I will go to David first off.
I like a 3D attraction when they use the 3D to advance the story. I know I'm talking about Disney, but I remember when I saw Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, when all the other figures were life-size and much larger, it really enveloped me into the story. And I think Spider-Man does that too whenever the electric dude attaches your cart and it shakes around. When it's just 3D just for the sake of it, I'm not a big fan. And I'll like Kong. While I enjoy Kong, I personally don't think that 3D adds a lot to that ride. And so if it's not advancing the story along, I don't like it if it's just the gimmick to get me to go see the ride.
Brittney?
Yeah, I agree with David. I think Universal is very good at doing 3D rides, but they're also good at doing rides that don't rely on the 3D. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of split. I enjoy seeing the 3D rides, but I don't want every single attraction that I walk into to be 3D.
And I think that was the issue, was it? For the long time, that's what it kind of became.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm right with Brittney. I think 3D attractions, when they're done well, are fabulous. Like Spider-Man is amazing. We've all had those experiences, and they do add something. But I like it when it's a component. I don't want it to just be a 3D screen. I like it when they intersperse the actual sets or real life things with the 3D. That's really when it goes and takes a step up, in my opinion. But so if it doesn't have those other components to the ride, it doesn't interest me as much.
Yeah, I feel like 3D should be used as a storyteller and a way to move the story along and integrate immersion into the story. I feel like if it's done as an afterthought, it obviously is going to have that sort of lackluster feel to it. And with so many rides having 3D in them or being screen-based and stuff like that, I feel like 3D is just one of those things that's like, well, we're going to make another ride. Let's make it a screen-based. Well, throw some 3D in at it. That's fine. And those are the ones that I think fail. But I think the ones that really succeed are the ones that give you that immersion and kind of transport you into that world rather than being just another gimmick.
Yeah.
And I feel like they have done that right so many times with the Transformers, in my opinion, and Spider-Man, and there's other ones that when they do it wrong, it feels so much more obvious.
Yeah. I think Spider-Man's the prime example, isn't it? That for all people were up in arms, getting bored of screen-based attractions and 3D attractions, that no one ever lumped Spider-Man in that. That was one attraction that was never mentioned when people were having those complaints.
Yeah, and I feel like they definitely had 3D in their mind when they were making that, and that's why you don't ever think the 3D feels out of place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because it's interesting kind of saying what you were saying there about Transformers and sort of the Spider-Man thing being an extension of the ride with it having the physical sets, because Transformers doesn't actually have an awful lot of that in it. And we know that originally, as far as I'm aware, they actually built an actual transforming Optimus Prime that was supposed to be that end sequence, and then in the end they just replaced it with the 3D screen. And I think
that would have been cool.
Yeah, it would have been amazing.
I wish that would have made it through.
Can you imagine how blown away with that attraction you would have been if you'd have rolled up to that last bit and there's an actual, not life-size, but sort of 15-foot Optimus Prime rolls up and transforms in front of you, just being like, wow.
Yeah. That would be amazing. I think that would have saved it, because I'm not a huge fan of Transformers, so I think that would have made it better for me. And I think it's exactly like you said, because for me, it doesn't have the physical sets, and I like that combination.
Yeah, I feel like the Kong at the end of Skull Island is a similar idea, where you have that life size, and it almost is a way to tie the 3D screen-based universe that you were just immersed in into the real world and kind of bring you back into that real world while still giving you more elements of that theming. And that would have been amazing, I think, in the Transformers ride.
I think Transformers is interesting in that I think it has more 3D elements than any of the rides there, as far as at least there's always something coming at you. And for that reason, it makes it a little more worthwhile, in my opinion.
Yes, Transformers is a weird one. I argue on the show all the time that I think Spider-Man's a better ride, but I enjoy Transformers more.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, it's definitely newer, so it doesn't have as I've ridden Spider-Man obviously more than Transformers.
Yeah.
To me, Transformers feels like a more modern version of what Spider-Man started. So it's easier to see it being a new thing and it being fresh and kind of shiny and all that. But again, Spider-Man's still around and it's not going anywhere, I don't think, because it was done so well.
Exactly. You look at something that's, I mean, how old is it now? Are we coming up 20 years? And yet it's still talked about as one of the best theme park attractions in the world.
Yeah.
So that shows you that 3D attractions, it comes down to how, like you've said, it comes down to how good they are, not necessarily just the fact that it's a 3D attraction.
Right.
Like people still, going back to David, like you did with Disney, I have been told on multiple occasions that up until Hagrid opened, the best theme park ride in Orlando was Flight of Passage.
Oh, yeah.
And it's purely 3D screen-based attraction.
Absolutely. But it's so immersive, and they did the 3D really well with that.
Yeah, I know being a big 3D enthusiast myself, I know James Cameron is along those same lines. He loves 3D. He advocates for it. He has that in mind when he sets out to make his movies and make his, all of his things that he's doing. And I feel like he uses it as a tool rather than just as a gimmick or just as an afterthought. And that is one of the reasons why his stuff soars so well. Like Avatar, it was huge. It did great. It wasn't the first 3D movie in theaters by far, but it did so well because he used it as a tool to give you that immersion and to use this, propel the storyline rather than just being an afterthought. And I think that translates into the ride very well. It's an amazing ride. And I know the first time I did it, I was really excited for it. We waited 3 hours in line.
Wow.
We went in, we did the ride, me and my wife, and we were in the queue long enough that the whole park closed. And after the ride, we left and we walked all the way to the Tree of Life before we even said anything. And I looked over at my wife and we both literally had tears because it was so amazing that we just didn't even know what to say. And I feel like that is a way that 3D can really be shown as like how awesome it is. When you were literally at a loss for words, that is done right.
Okay.
I cried the first time I rode it too, Chris.
Because she waited 4 hours. No, me either. I keep having an argument with Michelle that she keeps telling me it's the best ride and all, and obviously before Hagrid opened. And I'm like, it won't be because it's Disney. I don't care. Hopefully I'll find out in February, but I doubt it because if I can't get a fast pass for it, and there's no way I'm waiting 3 hours for it. Now, so we'll move on a little bit. Now, I've said on the show before that I felt 3D worked better on attractions when it was that old. Chris, this will be one for you. Again, the old film 3D projection rather than the new digital projection. Mm-hmm. So, like T2 3D is still by far, even though it's not there anymore, it's still by far my favorite 3D attraction. I think it was absolutely stunning. Not just the fact that the 3D was, like that film projection, give it that. For me, what theme park attractions, 3D theme park attractions should be, it's putting things in your face. And T2 did that better than any attraction I've been on. Mm-hmm. And I feel that when they moved over to the 4K digital projection, you lose that in your face thing and it becomes more about depth. And it's like looking through a window at it rather than... So it's not the same 3D that you would expect in theme parks.
Yeah, I do feel like the use of 3D in T2 was so different than the screen-based rides because it was 3D interacting with real world people and the real settings of the show. So it's kind of an apples and oranges to me, but I do know what you mean about when they upgraded the stuff to 4K and went to the digital and stuff. It definitely does have a different feel and a different look to it. I can't say that I remember it specifically enough to be able to compare the two in my head, but I do know what the difference that you're saying.
Yeah.
I miss when it used to come out of the screen at you. I know what you're talking about. I miss that. And I don't know why you can't have both, like find a happy medium with the 4K upgrades, you know? I don't know of course I don't know the technical aspects behind it, but I miss that. That was one of the really fun things when you thought something was going to come out at you and you were scared it was going to touch you or whatnot.
Yeah, T2 did a really good job at that, because I remember writing that a million years ago when I was a kid and being terrified because I thought this giant Terminator was actually in the room.
Yeah.
You know, it was such it just put you right in there. And I agree with Christina. I miss that. I miss that level of immersion with our 3D.
Yeah, I didn't really think of Terminator as a 3D attraction. I know that it is.
Yeah.
But when I think about that, it doesn't scream 3D to me. It was just all so well integrated that it's kind of on a level by itself.
Because for me, that's the reason you use 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Because and they've still put in like you look at Transformers, those elements are still there that are supposed to be coming out in your face. I can't remember which bit is when one of the Decepticons shoots like it's not bullets, whatever they are, little thermal rockety things, and it's supposed to, and you don't get that feeling that it's coming out at you anymore.
Yeah. I feel like you get it a little bit with, when Megatron shoots the big like bomb thing at you. That's the most I feel it in Transformers, is when that's coming towards you. But yeah, you're not really getting the, oh my gosh, I'm going to get hit in the face with a bomb right now feeling that you should get with 3D,
Yeah. I mean, I remember like with Terminator, like moving down in my seat to try to like back away as a kid, you know what I mean? Because I thought it was going to get me. You just don't get that feeling anymore. But like David was saying, with Terminator, he doesn't think of it like a 3D attraction. It's because of all those other components and I think that's the best way that 3D works. Yes. Whereas if you have something where it's just 3D, like Shrek.
I knew someone was going to mention it tonight.
And it's like, it just does not work. It's not good. I think we can all agree on that.
Yes, we can.
And I don't know how much James Cameron had to do with the Terminator, but I believe he probably had a lot to do with it. And that again goes to him just being so good at using that as a way to use that, as a tool rather than just as a gimmick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually filmed the film for the Terminator ride.
Yeah, because they did it while they were filming T2, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Because I think, I don't know whether it still is, but I know at the time it was the most expensive film per minute ever shot. It was like $1 million per minute or something it cost them, which sounds ridiculous.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's such a shame that they took it down. It'd be interesting to see if we do get this Bourne stunt show, whether that will be 3D or not.
I can't even imagine what that is.
Does anyone even care about Bourne? I've only seen one of them.
I don't think they do. No.
Yeah. I feel like they've missed the heyday on that. I feel like if it was 10 years ago, maybe it would have a little bit more relevance, but it just seems like it's so far gone now.
It's so difficult, though, isn't it? With a movie-based theme park, it's so difficult to get on top of things when things are in the prime.
Yeah, it's hard to guess what's going to have staying power.
Especially like if you're trying to hit one-offs, that's the difficult point. Like look at we will get on to Fast and Furious at some point, but they hit it when we're like, what film is that ride based on? Is it 6? I don't even know. I've only seen 2 of them, I think.
Yeah, I've only seen a few of those, and I've only ridden the ride once, and that was enough.
I haven't ridden it yet.
You will.
I don't even know that it's based. Oh, yeah. I mean, I have to, right? But I don't even know that it's based on one of the films. I think it's just a mishmash.
I think it is. I think it's based on whichever the one Luke Evans came into first. I want to say 6. I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. I assumed it was just they were latching onto that franchise and trying to make it their own unique part of it while having that name to try to draw people in, but I don't know if that's even working.
I think the problem is that it's an import from Hollywood. So when it was made in Hollywood, it probably was relatively fresh to whatever film they were trying to base it around. Then when it came over to Orlando, whatever that was, 2 years later, because I think Chris mentioned it on the last show that actually it might be next week's show. I don't know now. We're just having a glimpse into the future. That it's people fighting people who are friends in the later movies. But I don't know. Again, I've never seen them.
I think with Bourne, people will go just because it's a stunt show, not necessarily because of Bourne. They'll just be excited for the new experience.
Well, we've kind of already said it, haven't we? With Avatar, you know, a lot of people don't like that film. It did well because of the spectacle of the 3D, but when people began to actually watch it for a film, it didn't really hold up that well. Yet that land has done incredibly well and still has, like we've already commented tonight, one of the top 3 theme park attractions in Orlando at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think if the Bourne stunt show ends up, like, if they really do a great job with the stunt show, it's not going to matter that it's Jason Bourne. It's kind of like the Waterworld show in Hollywood. Nobody cares that it's Waterworld. It's just a really good stunt show. So
I used to like the Wild Wild West stunt show. I don't know a lot about the West, but I thought the stunts were entertaining. So.
Yeah.
And I think if they approach this like the Indiana Jones show in Hollywood Studios, I think that would actually bode well instead of doing it 3D, because the 3D made sense for Terminator. I can't really see it making much sense for Bourne.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, Brittney.
Yeah, I don't even know. Does anybody know any information about this? Like what the story is for the show, or any elements of it or anything?
I saw somebody post something the other day that there was going to be some sort of mini chase in it from one of the... I have no idea. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
Okay. I agree. I think it's gonna be one of those things where of course it's a new attraction. People are going to be in the park. They're going to want to see it. They may not be going just for that, but they'll go to see it.
Yeah.
And if it is good, people will continue to go and it will do well. But if it is bad, it'll end up like Fast and Furious, where people are going just to see how bad it is. But then once everybody goes and sees it, and nobody's going to be there anymore, you know?
You know what they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
You tell that to Fast and Furious. Oh, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to ride that ride so much.
It's so bad.
That's what everyone tells me.
Oh. I just want to laugh at it. I just want to go through and appreciate how bad it is and laugh. That's my plan.
Well, we've already been told we're not allowed to ride it until we ride it as the group on the weekend. So there's going to be about nearly 60 of us on it at that point. Everybody knows it's terrible, so it could be a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah. Kind of a so bad it's good sort of situation.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Right, I will take a quick break and we'll go and hear from Mouse Muggle, and then we'll be back to talk some more about 3D attractions.
Mouse Muggle Travel Company, our services are completely free to you. We don't just do Universal. We can do Disney. We can actually do anything. I don't know if anybody knows that. We can do anything. We can book absolutely anything, and it's super easy. We have a website. Just go to mousemuggle.com, and we have a link there for a free quote request. You just fill it out. That email comes straight to me, and either Robin or I will handle it, or if we're a little bombarded, then we'll send you off to one of our expert agents. But we'll take good care of you. So reach out to us at any time.
Welcome back, everyone. I am here with 4 members of the Producers Club, and we are looking at 3D attractions at Universal Orlando. So moving on, to look at this a bit more in depth of where we think 3D attractions are going to go, we've got to look at 2 things. And these were things that I started to look into a little bit more, and it's quite interesting looking at this and then trying to figure out where 3D attractions are going to go in the park. So Forbidden Journey in Orlando is a 2D experience. But when it opened in Hollywood, it was 3D. And then it got taken out. I was talking to Gabe from the theme park Joe yesterday about it, and he said it was horrible as a 3D attraction. Has anybody ridden it out in Hollywood as 3D?
Nope.
No, he said it was so blurry, it was horrendous. Now, it's interesting that they would take something from Orlando that was 2D and praised as one of the best attractions in the world and try and add something extra to it, but then at least learn from that mistake and take it out. But then on the flip side of that, Fast and Furious Supercharged at Universal Studios Hollywood, who was part of the tram tour, is in 3D. But when they brought it over to Orlando, they took out the 3D and just made it 2D.
Mm-hmm.
But then Reign of Kong is 3D out in Hollywood and also in Orlando. So it's such a strange process of decision making of what is 3D and what isn't, when you've got attractions that are the same on both coasts that have either been tried in 3D and 2D or have switched between the two. It's so odd. So, like, taking all of that into consideration, do you guys think the current 3D attractions at Universal Orlando would really lose something if they decided to go, do you know what? People are tired of 3D. We're going to do what we did with Minion Mayhem, and we're going to take the 3D out and make them all 2D only.
I don't think 3D adds a lot to Kong, so unless someone can convince me otherwise, that's one that I don't think really needs the 3D for the ride experience.
That's interesting. That's exactly the opposite of what I was going to say. And the only reason is because, as was mentioned before, if you take the 3D out of a ride, there's the possibility that you'll realize it's a screen. You may be able to see the borders of the screen, and you won't be drawn to the action of the screen because it's not in your face.
That was my biggest issue with them taking it out of Minions. Is it's just a big screen in front of you.
Yeah, I think I'm right with you guys. I think you need the 3D for Kong, but that's not obviously the favorite part of the ride. Favorite part is the big Kong head, but also about Gringotts. I think that Gringotts needs the 3D.
I agree.
See, that's interesting because, like, you look at Forbidden Journey, and Forbidden Journey is only 2D.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I feel like there's domes that you sit in, so that it puts you into the action. So it doesn't have 3D, but it does have technology that still gives you that immersion.
Right.
But with Escape from Gringotts, I feel like especially when you hit the track and then it tilts you down before it really gets going, I think it's necessary in order to, like, really believe that you're in the room with Voldemort and Bellatrix.
And like she was just saying, you know, with Forbidden Journey, you're like right up in that screen and there's only one row of people. With Gringotts, you've got 3, maybe 6 rows back. And if you don't have that 3D, I don't think you're going to get the same effect that you would if you were sitting in the front.
Mm-hmm, good point.
I agree. I think that there are elements of that Escape from Gringotts that would be okay without it. But there's some scenes like when the troll grabs the car and you fall. I don't think you would feel like you were falling if it wasn't a 3D view.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when Nagini comes up and like snaps at the car, you know, if that's not 3D, it's not going to have the same effect.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. But then, because like for me, looking at it, it's because we've already commented that I feel that the 3D doesn't come out at you as much with a digital projection. I was of the opinion that I don't think a lot of these attractions would lose that much if you took the 3D out.
I mean, it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I do feel like if you took it out of Adventures of Spider-Man, it probably would lose a little something, but it wouldn't be devastating to the ride because the other elements of that ride are so good.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But with like Gringotts, I feel like it might be you feel like you're on a coaster and then you feel like you're in a show spot and then you feel like you're on a coaster and kind of have this, you know, segmented ride rather than a fully realized thing.
Mm-hmm. But with any of these, it just makes me wonder, do you think it would be a better ride without 3D? Because I don't know I could say that for at least like when we talk about Spider-Man. Yeah, it's still going to be a great ride, but would it be better without 3D? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But would it be worse?
I think it would.
I think, yeah. Like, I can't imagine riding Transformers and it not being 3D. I feel like that would just, I don't know, it would just be weird.
But that's because you expect it to be 3D because you know it's a 3D attraction. If it had opened as a 2D, I know that's not what we're saying, but if it had opened as a 2D attraction, you probably wouldn't. Yeah, it's such an interesting, because like when I actually started to delve into this a little bit more, there's actually not as many 3D attractions at the parks as I thought there was. Because I think The Simpsons is only 2D.
Yeah.
You've only got what Gringotts.
Jimmy Fallon, Shrek.
What Jimmy Fallon is it? Does that add anything to it at all? I've not written that yet.
Well, it's kind of like Minions in that I feel like you need the 3D or you're just not. You're not immersed in what's happening whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
I do feel like something that we all know in the background, but something that might be worth bringing to the forefront is we go to a theme park to experience things that we can't at home.
Yes.
And if we are going to pay the money to get in, which I have no problem paying because there's so much to do and they put so much into these rides, I want to pay and experience something that is brand new to me that I can't replicate anywhere else. And if you take a ride that's 2D and you film it and then you watch it back at home or and throw it up on your big screen TV, you almost have the same experience if it's 2D to 2D. But if it's a 3D ride, that is something that I can't get at home. And I can't feel that. It's just like the 4D attractions. It's something you can't get, or the smells that they pump in. It just adds that extra element. And that is what a theme park ride is supposed to be, especially something as world-class as what Universal puts out.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Shrek, because you can just go home and watch it at home, and not to mention it's just like seats that vibrate and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
They do more than vibrate, in fairness, but yeah, I get your point. Those things that give you a back spasm.
I know. It's
That's what you need to go on, Brittney, to sort your back out. Get yourself on Shrek.
Right?
No, that'll lay her up in bed for the next week. No.
I'm not sure if 3D has much of a future in the theme park, other than I just don't think it's, when you were a kid or it was new, we were wowed when things happened. And now either it's commonplace or it might add an interesting element, but I would be concerned if that's where you're pumping all your money or time, because I just don't think that's the hook that it perhaps once was.
Well, Chris, you said it before we started recording how much you're into 3D with your home theatre system, and the fact that you're having to import a lot of your 3D Blu-rays, I think speaks volumes on where 3D is at this point.
Right. Yeah. It's to me, it's an unfortunate thing that a lot of people see it as a gimmick and not as a immersion element or a storytelling tool. And I feel like that kind of just went away. I do feel like 4K kind of had something to do with that, because everybody went from this one gimmick of 3D to this other kind of gimmicky thing of 4K. And, I don't want to get into the minutia of it, but I do feel like if people see it as a gimmick, of course, they're not going to like it as much. And when you go to the theme park, if you have 3D, it might be a gimmick. It might be something that's like, in your face, that sort of thing. But it does add a little something. And if you upgrade to 4K, like we were saying earlier, you might lose a little bit of that. And it's almost like those two formats are competing, and they have been since almost their birth. That it's like 4K and 3D don't want to play nice together.
Yeah.
And so, I feel like there's almost an inevitable competition. And like I said, being in the States, it's like 4K is taking over, although that's already kind of, with Samsung not making any more 4K Blu-ray players. There's already this competition that's going on, and it's unfortunate that people see it that way, but it is what it is, I guess.
Chris, there's a lot of movies that are shot and then converted into 3D. Do you see a difference between those that are filmed, with that in mind, versus those that are just converted after the fact?
So I feel like in the beginning days of 3D, it was definitely gimmicky. It was, the things coming out in your face, and that you could tell when somebody did that just for that effect. I feel like recently, movies that are shot even in 2D, there are some movies that are converted into 3D that look just as good, if not better, than some movies that were natively filmed in 3D. So an example is they re-released Jurassic Park in 3D in 2013 for the 20-year anniversary. And if I did not know that movie was 20 years old and converted, I would have thought it was filmed in 3D. It looks that good. But there are other movies that are filmed natively that just don't do it. And so I feel like as long as you have the money behind the conversion, or you have the right people looking at it, I feel like it doesn't matter if it's filmed in 3D or not. It can be made to look just as good. And but again, that's a film that's 2 hours, and with the rides, they're 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you're lucky. And
10 minutes? What rides have you been going on?
Well, But I feel like those have to have the 3D in mind from the start.
Yeah.
It can't be a conversion. Otherwise, you might have some good depth, but that's not really adding anything to the story.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like that's kind of where they've come out with putting Fallon in and Minions. Obviously, they've changed that now. And then with Kong and with Fast and Furious, it's just, let's just slap these in because why not?
Right.
And it seems to be from listening to you guys that you can get away with 2D, but it needs to be a wraparound screen rather than a flat screen in front of you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah,
Exactly.
a good example of that is, I know this is Disney, but Soarin' is a 2D experience, but the screen is so big and that you just fall into it, and it's not a problem that it's 2D at all. If it was 3D, I'm sure it would be great, but it doesn't need that to exceed because it's got the big screen and it's just done right.
Yeah, I think you say Forbidden Journey's the same. Like no one complains, ugh, it's only 2. You've never heard anybody come out of Forbidden Journey and go, oh, I wish that was 3D.
Right.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Simpsons does that well too with the giant screen and not needing to be 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that it needs to. You need to be put into a position where you cannot see the edge of that screen. I think that's where it comes in too, because that seems to be from listening to you guys again. It's having the 3D glasses on allows you to not see the edge of the screen, whereas if you're in a 2D attraction, as long as there is no way for you to see the edge of that screen, then it creates that immersion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem I had with Fast and the Furious too, is you can see, if you're sitting on the edge, you can see above and below where the screen begins and ends. And that's a ride that I think maybe could have benefited from being in 3D. But yeah, you can completely see everything that's going on if you're sitting on the edges of Fast and the Furious.
Yep. Yeah. And when they build something like that, they need to take into account all the rides, not just the best or the seats, not just the best.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and that's always been an issue with 3D, I think, as a whole, trying to get that prime spot to make the most of it. It's like when you go in to see things like T2 or Shrek or Honey, I Shrunk the Audience or A Bug's Life, everyone's fighting for that sort of middle row, middle seat, aren't they? Because everyone believes that's the best place to sit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, please move all the way to the end. And you're like, I don't think so. This is the spot I want.
Yeah.
Lee, I don't wear glasses. I don't know if anybody does. I don't know if part of the movement away from it has to do with
possibly
people that wear glasses have a hard time with the 3D effect and the 3D glasses. And this way we avoid that if we just remove the 3D.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because I know Tracy has a lot of issues with the 3D because she wears glasses.
There's a lot of times I have to close like one eye so that it looks right. So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't wear glasses, and I don't have a problem wearing them to watch a movie. I'll watch a couple 3D movies in a row even, and it doesn't bother me. But I do know that is a big talk that, I already wear something. It's not comfortable to put something else over it. And so I understand that. And also people that don't wear them, it may be that, I don't wear anything on my face normally. Now I have something on my face and it's a distraction.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I purposefully wear contacts to the parks because I don't want to have to worry about double layering my glasses and whatnot. But I mean, the motion sickness is a big deal, and I'm sure that's a huge complaint from guests.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of the complaint with the 3D in Forbidden Journey out in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I was reading an article about that, and I think it was only in 3D for like 8 months, and then they pulled it. And the general reason was that everybody just felt like, there's a quote. It says, "I know a lot of people were just not able to handle the ride in 3D." So, it's that ride especially. There's so much movement and things going on all over that you throw 3D in, and you might feel a little nauseous after that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you get that even on the one in Orlando. I seem to remember someone commenting that there was a vomit stain on one of the screens in that for a long time.
Oh no!
I don't know how you clean them up. Well, this has been really good. It's actually really interesting to look at it. So we're getting close to wrapping up. So I just wanted to sort of get everyone's opinions of where we're going to go, because obviously I think with how much the guest feedback for Hagrid has been phenomenal. I mean, I have not seen a single bad review of that attraction, and that's what everybody's wanted, is a completely physical attraction again at Universal. And it does seem to be that Universal tend to pull the fingers out for the Potter stuff, and everything else is kind of secondary. And I do get it, because that's what draws people in, but they need to show a bit of love to everything else. The next big thing we're going to get is Super Nintendo World. Are we going to see 3D attractions? I assume a lot of it's got to be screen-based. Are we going to see a lot of the talk around it at the moment is augmented reality? What is the future of 3D and screen-based attractions at the parks?
I think for like Mario Kart, I'd rather focus on practical effects as opposed to 3D. Blow the wind in my face, or have a giant turtle coming after me, or catch something on fire. I think that's what the kids want: more pyro. Lee. More pyro.
Of course, it's Universal. You have to. There has to be water sprays and fire.
Of course, it's mandatory. But yeah, I think we're leaning back towards the physical effects. Now, if they work in the physical effects along with some 3D, depending on it, I mean, I could see it working. But for Super Nintendo, I don't know that you need the 3D. Especially because if you're plopped down in the middle of it, we're used to watching it on the screen when we play anyways. But to be in the video game, I don't think you necessarily need 3D to be really immersed.
But I think the handheld Nintendo used to be 3D when it came out, and then they quit supporting 3D for the Nintendo game itself.
Yeah, the 3DS.
Yes, maybe they're onto something there.
I think like what Christina was saying, if they pepper in 3D with the physical effects, if they take it like a Gringotts route, I think it would be excellent doing like a Mario Kart like that. But we just, having ridden Hagrid and seeing that Universal is completely capable of making an amazing ride that has no screens or no 3D, I want to see more of that in this new park.
I'm right with you there.
Yeah, even being a 3D advocate as I am, I do feel like it's not necessary. And if it's used when it's not right, it's going to be more obvious than just doing it 2D and making sure that it's right and putting in the actual physical elements that give you that theme park feel.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to see how much Mickey's Runaway Mine Train plays into all of this, because haven't they said that's kind of 2.5D, but without, it's going to kind of be 3D, but without glasses? Yeah,
they I think they did say 2.5D, and I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either.
I know that the old Nintendo 3DS, it was glassesless 3D, but you had to be in the sweet spot, and if you moved even a little bit, you lost the 3D. And if they implement something like that, I know that James Cameron's working on it for the Avatar sequels. If they can do something that's glassesless 3D, then I'm all for it. But if it's something that you have to be direct on and there's going to be a bad seat, they might as well skip it, because they're just going to get nothing but bad reviews from that.
Yeah, you're going to get one person per ride vehicle that says, "Oh my God, that was amazing," and everyone else is like, "Huh?"
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. And I feel like with Nintendo, like you've said, this was something we grew up playing and seeing on a screen. So if they are able to bring that to life and do it with practical effects and statues and stuff, I feel like that's amazing. I mean, that's exactly what people want. If they can't do that because of money or whatever the case, doing it in 3D would work, but we're also used to seeing it as 2D. So I don't think that people would see that and go, "Wait a minute, this looks different." As long as it's done right.
Right. Yeah, I'm all for the coming back to physical effects. I miss a lot of the rides that used to have physical effects, that you were in it with Jaws, or going way back. Confrontation was amazing. I miss that, so I'm pumped that it's making a comeback.
Great.
So we'll keep our fingers crossed that ET stays, even though it's freaky as hell.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to mention about 3D is I have never done a 3D house at Horror Nights. I know that was something that Universal did for a while, and they used the chroma depth, so they used the red and blue to use the distance as near and far. But that's something I've never experienced. I don't know if they're done with that. They haven't done it in at least 5 years, I don't believe.
I think the last one was 26 was Chance's house at 26. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't actually get to go through that one. So that was the first year that I started going, but I missed that maze. So that's something that I could see them using that to benefit some of the rides like E.T. I mean, you go to E.T.'s world and it's got all these colors and it's vibrant. And I feel like that could be something that it could benefit from. But is that worth the investment? Everybody's now wearing glasses. They got, the whole thing. Or is it, no, we're just not going to deal with it at all? I mean, do we think that we'll even see a return of 3D in Horror Nights?
That's a really good question, actually, because like you say, they haven't done it for 3 years. And I know a lot of people that don't like them. We did Asylum in Wonderland at 25. And personally, me and Tracy loved it. It was in our top 4 or 5 that year. But a lot of people don't like them.
Right. And I don't know, is the issue with them, again, with the glasses, or is the issue that it's too disorienting? Do we know?
Darren tends to complain that it's laziness because they get away with not doing as much with the sets because they don't need to.
Yeah, that's always what I've heard, because with the 3D houses, you don't need to add details because people are more just focused on what's coming out at them.
Okay.
But I think the fact that we've had 10 houses for the last 2 years and we haven't had a 3D house, I think does speak volumes to it at this point.
Yeah. And each year it's been amazing. I feel like every year has almost one-upped itself since I started going in 26. And if they're doing it without 3D, maybe that's, I mean, I'm used to seeing all the detail in these houses because they're 2D houses. Yeah. I guess real 3D. World 3D. And so maybe that's also part of it, is they want to keep one-upping and they don't want to have that, quote, laziness of just sliding that in there.
Yeah. That was an interesting point, actually. Yes, you're right. I never considered 3D in haunted attractions. Cool. Well, I really enjoyed that. It was, I think it's going to be very interesting to see where the parks go in the next 5 years as far as where we will go of that split of screen, 3D and physical attractions, and hopefully, like I said, the feedback they've got from Fast and Furious and Hagrid will push them in the right direction.
Yeah.
So, thank you, everyone. It has been a pleasure to have you on the show. And sorry, Chris, but David and Brittney and Christine, I will see you very shortly, actually. I'm very nervous. Please be careful with me. And we are going to wrap up with another Universal Is, and this one comes from Chris Thompson, it says. I don't know who he is. If you want to be involved, just tell us what you think Universal is in 3 words or less and email it to us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. And Chris says Universal is... Chris, can you remember what you wrote?
Vacation done right.
See you next week.
Cut. Print. That's a wrap for another episode of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Never miss a show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review while you're there. Not an Apple user? You can listen on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, or your podcatcher of choice. Email us any questions or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. Keep up with the latest news, rumors, and updates on our blog at uuopodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next week.